No one is mad at me, but welcome to the Sunday Pioneer Academy. I was traveling today, so I'm a little late, but back in time. If you can see here, I have a light. A light bulb is going on in my head by default now. Here, what does Suncred Zero say? My wife has a German comparative literature degree. Wow, that's pretty impressive. She's the most unpunctual person alive. Excellent. So, I hope you guys can hear me and we are live. Let me know if you can hear everything. So, we are ready to rumble and review a very exciting week. Lots of things are happening. Tesla is back in the driver's seat, no pun intended. And we are going to start this whole situation with a review of the stock, discuss a little bit what's going on, and what the next move will be, as well as how the Pioneer Reserve is doing. Spoiler alert, it's doing pretty well. So let's jump right into it. Here we have Tesla stock chart and what it did this week and the week before, and also what my commentary was on it. As you see here, these are the last 5 days. We went from 387 all the way up to 428. But before, it was even more extreme here. Friday, 10th of April, we were all the way down here. Then we lingered around 372, down to the 360s. And I told you guys after the earnings that this is a Goldilocks moment, that we have very little downside here because the stock is completely oversold. Macro perspective, the market is going up like crazy, reaching all-time highs, while Tesla is lagging. And my argument was very simple. We have seen all-time highs as early back as December, or as recent as December 16th, 490. Since then, Tesla on all cylinders that it doesn't have has fired on all cylinders and is all in all a much stronger company, a much more de-risked company on all levels than it was on December 16th of last year. But it's far below all-time highs, while the market is back to all-time highs and the Mag 7 are back to all-time highs. That is why I said there is absolutely no way we are staying down here, and we will go back to 400 in no time, and we will also go back to 490 in no time. That is what I said. That is what I still believe, but we have to be a little tactical and cautious when it comes to super tactical questions like where the stock goes next week. But all of that, of course, has led to the Pioneer Reserve, the Pioneer Bonds, and the Pioneer Alpha portfolio to outperform quite dramatically. And that has resulted in pretty good returns that I'm very proud of. And I want to just show you guys where we are at with the Pioneer Reserve. Let me pull this up quickly here. Pioneer, Reserve. Oh, my camera is gone for some reason. Why is that? I can't see myself. Can you guys see me? Where's my... Hello, everyone. Hello, C. Phil. Hello, Detroit. Hello, everyone. I just don't see my image for some reason. I'm not sure if I'm... Can you guys see me? No. What is this? What kind of problem? This is a new problem that I have not encountered before. Layout? Oh, maybe this is the problem. Yeah. This is the problem. There, I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. So let's see what the Pioneer Reserve has to tell us. Pioneer Alpha is ready to rumble. And the combination of this very strong prediction that I made, you know, this is the important lesson here that we have to learn. Let's go to Pioneer Reserve. Why is this so weird? Everything is broken today. This should, now. The Pioneer Reserve is doing very well, very well. So we are now up year to date an amazing 36.79%. In other words, in the last week, I absolutely nailed it. This was well deserved, by the way. Tesla is up 9.6%, but we are up an unbelievable 22%. That is very good. That is very good. The reason for that massive move with now an alpha of 12% over the week, but year to date, most importantly, we have an unbelievable alpha over Tesla of 41.54%. That is good trading. As you guys know, I am using Tesla as the central benchmark because we are trading and investing around the Pioneerlands thesis. And the Pioneerlands thesis, go to pioneerlands.org. We have some very cool updates, by the way. Always check out pioneerlands.org. You have the beautiful forum here. You have the questions where you can ask any question you want. We will go through this today, through the questions. But you also have the 10 themes. And these 10 themes are what we believe in. That Pioneer Alpha, that we will see a disruption of the economy, a disruption of society as early as next year. But it has already started. The capability is now nearly perfected. I had a video on it, I think yesterday. Yesterday it came out. The disruption is in full swing, and I can comment on this again today, but the disruption is in full swing. We see tremendous transformations, but of all the stocks, I believe the Mag 7 are the most robust bet, even though you have sector outperformance and all kinds of stuff, and you can do you can look into that, but I believe the Mag 7 are the most robust bet, and within the Mag 7, I do think Tesla is the underrated absolute winner of this whole thing, which right now could even be seen as contrarian when everyone is like talking about Google and stuff like that, and Nvidia and Amazon. But Tesla has some tricks up its sleeves, which is why I believe Tesla will have the greatest appreciation of all, and for me the most plannable. Now here's the thing. When we talk about what is plannable and predictable, we have to learn two things. Tesla is down 4.75%. Other stocks are actually up. Other Mag 7 are up a lot actually this year. And some people say, well, we are fools. We are fools betting on Tesla when we could, also bet on Google, for example, and would now be totally in the money. Let me see. Google year to date. Whoa, that's crazy. So Google year to date is up 26%. Can you believe it? So Tesla investors, compared to Google, are down 5%. Google is up 26%, which gives Google an alpha of 31% over Tesla. And some people say suckers, Tesla suckers. That's why Tesla sucks and you should be in Google. Okay, number one. That is, of course, hindsight 2020. That has happened, was not necessarily predictable, and you have to be very cautious going from here and looking forward. Number two, I want to point out that I and Pioneer Reserve have an alpha of 41% over Tesla, which means that Google sucks compared to us. But we are still focusing mostly on Tesla. So how is it possible that we have so much of an alpha if we mostly deal with Tesla? Well, the reason is predicting the future is one thing, but then executing along these lines is a second and separate, distinct thing. When I read X and I see all the smart TA, technical analyst people on Tesla, and they make all these predictions, often they are right. But do they actually execute on it, or are they just talking? That is the big difference. You need to translate your insights into trades that actually generate that alpha. Very important. Through options or through whatever you want. But, just making predictions and not following up makes it unaccountable and also does make money. It's that simple. So this is a very good result. And it is good for two reasons. First of all, it's just objectively beautiful. Also over 6 months, how are we there? We are up nearly 50%. Tesla over the last 6 months is basically completely flat, negative 0.27%, whereas we are up 48%. And since inception, since January 1st, 2024, up 166%, whereas Tesla is up 72%, giving us a alpha of 93%, which means if someone invested $1 million at the inception of Pioneer Alpha, you would have roughly $1 million more than as if you invested in Tesla. So 1 million at inception into Pioneer Alpha translates into 2.66 million invested 100% in Tesla, translates into 1.72 million. Just a little bit of math here, performance math. And of course, when we compare this, let's say year to date, against any benchmark, sorry for all the benchmarking, but just so we can see what's going on, we beat the NASDAQ by 21%. This year, we beat the S&P by 28%. We beat ARKQ, Kathy, by 19%. Good job, Kathy, by the way. 17% is pretty good. ARKK, we beat by 33%. That's pretty deadly. MSCI World, I think one of the most used mutual funds in the world, we beat by 26.97%. It is only may I say. So that's going on here. I'm very happy with that, as you can imagine. And this is what comes out of predicting Tesla moves with high conviction and then executing on it. Very important. You need to execute. If you don't execute, the conviction doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter if you're right. It needs to be translated into results. I learned this over a very long time, made many mistakes in the past, but they're far gone now. So that is the situation. Where do we go from here before we jump into Pioneer Academy topics? Where do we go from here? Well, as you know, I have a pretty firm thesis. As long as the market holds up, I told you the following things. Number one, Iran is over, right? I said this 4 weeks ago. I don't even know when, like a long time ago. It is very clear Trump cannot do this anymore. The United States is trapped, cannot escalate. No way. The more time goes by, the exponentially more pressure is on the Strait of Hormuz to be resolved. Okay? So there is just no way out there. This thing is done. Because they are forcing functions way larger than any kind of EMOS talk we hear in X. And that's good. So that is not a threat anymore. Do we have any other threats? I don't think so. I think the Fed is more or less paralyzed. They can't do much. They see inflation combined with huge pressure on the employment side of things. So their dual mandate basically tells them don't do anything. They could only make minor moves. Nothing big can happen on the Fed side, in my opinion. And they have a new chairman coming in. I don't think there's much to be worried about over the next 4 weeks or something. Do we see any other risks? Nothing at the horizon that I can tell. The AI bubble talk has been completely eliminated at this point, at least with the higher IQ crowd, because what we see is that Anthropic is absolutely killing it. Like the enormous, unprecedented, historically unique, unparalleled cash flood into Anthropic tells everyone, dudes, this is not fake news. AI is not a bubble. It is the biggest transformation that humans have ever seen, and we're in the middle of it. And we have an amazing company like Anthropic that, by the way, might kill us all very soon. You know that I'm not a doomer, I'm a realist. I see a problem coming, but I also am not worried about it. We will figure it out, and there are enough people dealing with that problem. So anyway, we see there's a lot of money coming in. There's an explosion in market cap of Anthropic. That means NVIDIA goes up, Mag 7 goes up, hyperscalers go up, SpaceX, xAI, you saw my videos on it. There's a crazy deal coming with Anthropic. Enormous things are happening, and all of them are super bullish, at least for the AI stocks. That includes Tesla. The bottom line is, from a technical perspective, and I'm not talking about stock astrology. I'm talking about just logical technical analysis. All-time highs, very recent, as of December 16th, 490. We are now at 428. Tesla is tremendously stronger. We have started Cybercab production. Optimus is coming in less than 90 days, being revealed. Huge, huge soft catalyst. And there is absolutely no reason why we should not be at 490. And so I think that's exactly where we are going to go, independent of any robotaxi scaling topics, right? That is something independent that can happen on top of everything. And if robotaxi scales to a point, unsupervised, that unlocks the fantasy of this actually happening, and we need to be very diligent and accurate in how we describe that. I'm not saying when the fanboys, you guys, and me, and Herbert, and Randy Kirk, and the whole crew, all of us, are saying how amazing it is, we don't count. We have to go to the normies, to the normal people who are not as delusional as all of us. The normal investors, will they say, okay, I buy it, Tesla has nailed FSD robotaxis and they're going to scale into the hundreds of thousands very quickly and millions? Or can they still have doubts? There's this inflection point. You know my theory, 1,800 unsupervised robotaxis. I've said it for a long time. I predicted this April or May. It's the time that this happens. I was a little early, but I don't think I was that early. So this is going to happen at some point. What I'm saying is this doesn't matter for the 490 price target. I see the 490 coming. It's absolutely necessary that it will come. As long as the markets keep going up, there's no crisis and no issue. And it could happen very quickly. That is why I remain extremely bullish positioned, leveraged positioned with short puts at the money, always at the money. I avoid going too deep into the money because I want maximum premium, because while we go to 490, that is my conviction, we have now run up pretty dramatically over the last month. I mean, look at this, 22% up over the last 5 days, nearly 10% up. So it is always time for a slight little pullback that can happen anytime that we go down 10, 20 points. From here, probably not 20, more like 10. So you have to be cautious. If you sell in the money puts with a 450 strike price or something, you're getting killed a little bit if this thing drops 15 points. When you sell at the money, at 430, for example, weekly, you have $10 buffer. So even if this drops to 415, you nearly don't get hurt, depending how much of these things you sell. So that's what I prefer to do. So I'm basically building in a sideways move. If it moves sideways, I make $10. If it goes up $10, I make $10. Only if it goes up $20, then I lose kind of out, but then I can stack. So that's why I like to maintain my buffer. That is one of the key tricks in alpha churn, the third strategy of Pioneer Alpha, how I maintain reasonable risk. When you are very aggressive and selling at the money puts, of course I go way beyond cash covered. So they are naked puts, let's face it. You have to be, because otherwise, you have to squeeze the juice out of it. You don't have to do anything. Don't listen to me. Don't do what I'm saying here. No investment advice. This is extremely dangerous stuff. But when I have very high conviction, like I have now, or I had last week and the week before, now I have a little less conviction, but still pretty strong, I squeeze the stuff a lot, which means naked puts, okay? I mean, I don't go into the whole straddle theory. Of course, I buy way out of the money puts, but for me, that's naked. Like if you buy a 360 put to offset to get some margin back, that's worthless. Like you will be totally broke, of course, if that drops to if you sell endless amounts of puts, even with your little long puts, and it drops 30 points, you're dead. So there's definitely risk built in here. So I only do that when I have high conviction that a very steep drop is extremely unlikely. So the momentum's on our side, the market is on our side, historic all-time highs are totally on our side, and the fundamentals are on our side. That is a Goldilocks situation where I'm going really hard in. That is how I see it. So I will keep positioning myself with full exposure full exposure to the upside, always $10 buffer to the downside. And this strategy that I'm doing right now requires absolute attention. Like, you cannot leave your stock market app for more than 20 minutes. Never during trading hours. So if you do that. So it's a full-time job, and you need to also know exactly what to do if it drops or if it runs up too much. So there you have it. That is my positioning. Let's go into the comments and see what everyone thinks and is asking here. Before we go into more, maybe we look at my beautiful Pioneer Reserve. I'm so proud. You know, this is really hard work, guys. Don't think this comes easy. It's not free money, right? This is not easy to do, and requires a lot of attention. So when we nail it, I'm allowed to celebrate this a little bit. Let's see. Retirement Owl. That's a good name. I bought call leaps and sold puts last 2 weeks. Ooh, you're probably rich now. Cyphil 2007. Nostradamus Flash. Okay, you got a point here. I guess this will be soft soon. Maybe that's not a priority right now. Pickup points could be at the top of parking garage. Okay, these are just speculations on Robotaxi. Cyphil says, I find the current comparisons of Optimus Gen 3 to competing humanoid robots kind of ridiculous. We haven't even seen a single screw of Gen. That is true, Cyphil, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I have high confidence that Tesla is on top of this thing. I'm very bullish on Optimus. The fact that we haven't seen anything says exactly nothing, because it's very explicable, because you don't want to show your mega robot to the competition. And Elon was clear on that. I said it way before Elon. But Elon knew it before me, probably. Hi, Joe. Do you think SATS is a good idea to ride SpaceX hype over the next months, or still IPO? I mean, we are looking at very high valuations on that side. I'm like, chill, right? So but I'm a little different. Like, you have to understand that my Pioneer Alpha strategy is not your typical, like Leopold Aschenbrenner, for example. I'm not the typical stock picker where I just pick all my little stocks and try to jump ship and jump on the next stock, you know, whenever I think this stock makes more money. Because the main source of alpha is the prediction of the future, independent of what that future actually is, independent if that's bullish or bearish. The accurate prediction of the future, and then the systematic modeling of maximum value extraction around that conviction. Which means if Tesla goes sideways and I would have total conviction, I could make way more money than on any stock, regardless how much it goes up, because of options, right? You could like short call put this thing to death if you knew what's happening. If it goes down, you can make endless amounts of money. So knowing what a stock is doing is the key for Pioneer Alpha, and predicting the future very tightly, and then pinpointing the next couple of weeks of that future trajectory, and then executing, engineering the derivatives around it. That is the key for Pioneer Alpha. And so I'm not in the business necessarily to jump ship and go into other stocks or ride the SpaceX pre-IPO, whatever. You can do that. That is a good strategy, but it's also, you know, it depends on your preferences. You need to just have high conviction. Semi-production and robotaxis are coming to market, so the stock should rise. True. I sold lots of puts last week, says SCred Zero, Street Cred Zero. Not just on Tesla, selling puts on MU. Ooh, and MD was crazy. What do you mean by buying a leap for 490, like a strike 490? Oh, B Wick Force. I'm finally on Pioneer Lens. Congratulations. Glad to have you there. Keen to start investing. Short tutorial would be great. Well, we have two things. We have Pioneer Alpha. That is connected to the Pioneer Reserve, so our securitization vehicle in Luxembourg, where we institutionalize Pioneer Alpha for qualified investors. And then we have Pioneer Lens, which is an open community where everyone can become a member. You can become a citizen, pay $9 a month, and they get all amazing special features. So it depends. Be Wig Force. What you mean? So, more questions in the beginning. Okay, very good. So let's go to the next big section here, the updates on Pioneerlands and the Pioneer Academy. Let's see what we have. By the way, I created a new thing. It's still in the works, but go to pioneerlands.org and you have to sign up first, but then you can click on news. We have this new news section, and I think it's very cool. These are AI generated news. They should be good. We are still refining them, but they are high quality in the sense that they actually tell you the most interesting news. You can click on, there's still bugs. Sometimes the links are broken. But if you click on the research topic or the thematic topic of our AI thesis, you see all the latest news. Look at this. Isn't that cool? We had a problem with the links. But look at this. These are last 7 days in robots. You see Figure AI raises 500 million from SoftBank to deploy humanoids in manufacturing. Isn't that interesting? Tesla pauses Optimus production line to retool for faster assembly. Isn't that interesting? But here, I think the link was broken. Yeah. So this is very cool, this news feature. We're still debugging some things, but the idea is to provide us with a more systematic, high quality news bucket. You can also click on blockchain, for example. Bitcoin tops 80,000 for 3 months high. Rules forcing crypto firms to register as dealers. So you have all these interesting news. And of course you have autonomy. 10 billion FSD miles. Well, that's old news for you guys. Let's see, 48 hours. That's bad news. Space, let's see. Oh, we need to generate this more. All kinds of cool stuff. Anthropic gets in bed with SpaceX as the AI race turns weird. UFO files. Terafib chip factory in Texas could cost up to 119 billion fighting shows. This is all cool news. So they're all video worthy. So all I'm saying is, like, you can check out the latest. I will use this more and more for also generating videos. We have a new feature here also integrated where you can start clicking. This is like work in progress, where you can start clicking on multiple news sources or stories and then create a story and then basically generate a story. So you get an AI generated deck. This is still very beta, will be much better end of next week. But I'm thinking about using that more for YouTube and live streaming, so we can actually be absolutely on top of the news, because the AI engines behind our news feed for Pioneerlands is very sophisticated. So we made sure with all kinds of little tricks to really get high quality news, so we can scan Earth, we can scan civilization for the latest insights into the central themes. Let's stop it here because we have other things to do. So, just saying, we never stop. We have interesting stuff happening here. And you guys should check it out. It's free. Very good. Politically Incorrect 12345 asks, Joe, would you put fresh money now? Well, I have to put in fresh money now because Pioneer Alpha and the Pioneer bonds are closing a good chunk of money probably in May. And then I will have to deploy that. I think, yes, absolutely. I'm still absolutely bullish. I would have concerns if you run up to 600 or something when we are still below 1,000 unsupervised. Because if we run up there and then anything happens, you will have a crash. The market could crash, Tesla could crash. And so you need to be cautious, But right now is not the time to be cautious. Can change within a week, the whole situation. Did you answer my question about SpaceX and Tesla merge next year already? Do you agree with Larry or no? Yes, I had last Sunday, we had a big session on that. Questions. Let's go to the Pioneer Academy. Let's see what we have here. We have 4 questions. Yeah, I responded to that last Sunday. But today we have some other things. So first question is, this is a question regarding the Pioneer bonds, Pioneer Alpha bonds. I make this quick. How do I buy in? I'm trying to buy in, but not sure on how to do so. Can I actually respond here to this? No. So generally, if you're interested, anyone who's interested in the Pioneer Alpha for qualified investors, US, Europe, UK, Canada, Switzerland, not yet Australia, unfortunately. We're still working on that. Go to pioneeralpha.org, pioneeralpha.org. And there you should see everything. You can see if you're qualified under your jurisdiction. And there is also, you can sign up. So go to pioneeralpha.org and create an account. And then you have a little bubble where you can just talk to me directly and to the team. And then there's also all the subscription documents, the terms, the performance, everything is there. And you can just ask me any questions there. It's a little easier to digest for me if it comes from that, because then we are on top of it. So that should be very easy. And as I said, Australia is a little tricky because as far as we understand and our attorneys, it's a little bit problematic in Australia to actually sell securities. So that was quick. We make it quick here. Let's go. Next question by Steven. Should I sell my option or keep till the end of Q2? In March, I bought 2 options with a strike price of 430 and 445 for about 4,300 each. So basically $43. $43. They both have a December 18th expiration date. There was about 6,100. So December 18th expiration date. So you are in relatively heavy decay mode already. So you don't have much time. If Tesla goes sideways or down, you suffer from major decay at that point. But the good news is you are at the money now. So you made roughly 50%, I assume. Yes, roughly 50%. They both have a December 18th expiration date. Sell or hold till the end of Q2. I never exercise options, by the way. I always use options as trading tools. You know, sometimes I sell options and buy shares. I wouldn't exercise. I don't even know how to I never exercise. I just treat it as liquid stuff. I sell the options. If I want to buy shares with the proceeds, I do that. I don't need to exercise. I wouldn't even think like that. That's why it's options. You should, in my opinion, I treat options as completely different securities that I trade and make money with. So even, you know, because why would I make myself constrained? You just have to think in money. Same with the question, if it's cash covered puts and stuff like that, who cares? It's a security that has a certain profile for me where I want to make money. And if I decide the stock is a better option, I sell some calls or whatever I have and buy stocks. So I'm completely independent. Also, I don't have to execute one contract and get 100 shares. What if I want, you know, what if I want to sell 10 contracts and buy 500 shares? It should be independent. So of course, this is not trading advice here, investing advice. This is depending on your risk appetite. But I would say, so you still have a little time, December 18th. So the real question is, and I'm risk averse, by the way. I do not like to take any risks that are unnecessary. So here we are in a run up. For me, the endpoint of the run up is 490, and it's likely that we get there. So if I was in that position, first of all, I wouldn't be in that position. I don't like that position. I rather am short puts than long calls. Okay. Um, so I would probably sell them and go into short puts. But that's now because I'm a short put person, not a long call person. Only in extreme cases I do long calls. So you forget about that bias. That's up to you what you do. But just from a cold-blooded analytical perspective, I would bet on this thing running a little bit more and in a short period of time, which would bias me towards holding it. If I hadn't my short put bias. But once we get anywhere close to 490, maybe 460, 470, I would start getting rid of these. I would, because the odds that there's a hiccup and we go down again, and then you are absolutely getting crushed because then you have time decay and the stock against you is very high. So I wouldn't be in that situation. I do not like any leaps that are closer than 12 months. I hate them actually because the time decay is ridiculous. As long as you're on a run up, everything is always great, obviously. So, next question. No, that's the last. We go to this later. We do this now first. From David. And the question is, oops, merger effect on my leaps and my personal position. My core position is 600 Tesla shares. I also have leaps that expire December 2027. Good. 100, 420 and 200, 700. The 420 are about 100 now, just below what I paid. The 738, I'm down 50% on them. Too bad, but whatever. I still think Tesla, when was this asked? Oh, there's no time on it. That's bad. We should know the time. Probably now it shouldn't be that bad anymore. I still think Tesla could real 11,000, but by the time they expire, these positions make up 90% of my net worth. Ooh, this is a pretty high-risk move. My biggest concern is what happens if the stock ticker Tesla doesn't exist post-merger. Stephen Mark Ryan claimed in a video that out-of-the-money leaps would become worthless. I did some research on that, and I'm pretty convinced this is not the case anymore. And I asked everyone to do some research and then post it in Pioneer Land somewhere to actually elaborate on this. But you can basically, with AI, just dig into that and see what the actual situation is with these out-of-the-money leaps at a merger. I'm 95% convinced at this point, or confident, that at a merger, they do not become worthless, but are being translated basically into the new entity, prorated. So, whatever your strike prices gets translated into the merged entity strike and expiration. So I'm a little less worried now, but I still have a 5% uncertainty on it, so it would be good if someone would do the deeper research. Okay, let's do some questions before we go to the last one. Let's mark them as seen. Did this work? Oh, yeah. How do I buy in on the bond? Very good. Then we only have this one left. But let's go to the questions first. The questions. Joe, what's your 2030 Tesla price target? I'm going to do a video on that next week. I have an updated model. I pushed out my timeline because last time I did this was a year ago, I think. So my original target is now pushed down, which means my 2030 price target is also down. And you will see. So I'm not going to reveal this now. It's still pretty good, but it's pushed out. Tesla Granny says, let's make some money. I agree. I like December 27th leaps. Me too. So let's go to this question here. Okay. So this question is a deeper question. Now we're going a little deeper. And the question is by Tommy in AGI. How to prepare myself for what's next? Thank you, Tommy. That's a very good question. And the question is, I recently became a follower of this community and I align strongly with what Joe's teaching around Tesla, SpaceX, NVIDIA, Anthropic, and the importance of becoming a capital owner in the AI era. I'm trying to understand how to properly position myself to what's coming next. By the way, I'm preparing something very cool. I'm working with an undisclosed secret university right now to actually put the whole thesis of Pioneerlands, of the age of AGI, and of the AGI economy into a more structured coursework that you will, of course, you guys will get in the Pioneer Academy here, but that will also be in a real world university and then probably in more very soon, because I think it's incredibly important and no one is really teaching this to anyone, especially not to students who should be the number one target group for that kind of knowledge. And the deeper thesis on what's actually happening right now to the world, to our civilization, what the technological drivers of that transformation are, what AGI actually means, what economic AGI means, then to go into the AI or AGI economy and understand how the economy actually works. Because whatever we know about the economy will fundamentally change. Of course, not on a first principle, deep level, that's always the same, but no one knows about that. But on the tactical level, what does it mean to create value? What does finance mean? What does money mean? What do value chains look like in the future? What are value chain systems? What are value chain endpoints? That is very important for first principle knowledge to understand the disruption, the effects of AGI, of the total replacement of all white collar jobs and then all blue collar jobs, what the role of humans exactly has to be, where the highest amount of value creation and money will come from a human perspective. And then to take that into part 3, the age of pioneers, in other words, Pioneerlands. What is our role? How do we engineer reality in that new setting? And how do we make sure it has economic power, the whole thing? So that is coming. Thanks to you guys, we have a lot of discussions here, and you forced me to always try to formulate these things more clear. And now, very good to have a more formal system soon in place where we discuss all these things. Okay. I'm trying to understand, Tommy continues, how to properly position myself for what's coming next. What should people realistically be investing in today? How do you position for a potential SpaceX IPO? And is there any legitimate way to gain exposure to companies like Anthropic before they go public? Would love to connect with Joe directly or learn how to become more involved with the community. Appreciate everything being shared here. Thank you, Tommy. So number one, if you are very interested in Pioneerlands, become a citizen. It costs you $9 per month. But for me, this is kind of an important indicator if you're on the right track and who's the most interested community. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's a citizen gets much more than the $9 out of this. But it's more like it's a low price because we want to just make it like as the key differentiator. Who is able to actually, boom, pay a little bit to help Pioneerlands. This all goes towards the people who help me with Pioneerlands that need to get paid. So that's the best way. And then we have the forum, of course. You can go to the forum. I will discuss this more. You can go to the forum here. You click here, and then you're in the forum and can engage in all kinds of discussions. I'm not good in answering questions there, so it's definitely the best way to reach me is through asking a question here. If you click ask a question here, then it appears in the question section here, and it's much more visible. So AI income. So here is the bigger theme. The bigger theme is when it comes to questions like that, you need to form a community, which is right here. You need to engage because then we can discuss these things. If you have specific questions like Anthropic, for example, so Tommy, I can just recommend, use this feature. This is the #1 feature to get the discussion going. Like click on us. Like one advantage of being a citizen, by the way, is if you ask a question and you are a citizen, your question is guaranteed to be covered every Sunday. So every Sunday when we do present, right, when we look through all the questions, then we hand select the ones we like the most. But every citizen will get his answers or her questions answered guaranteed. So you're automatically in the present queue. And so that is your easiest way to not just get in touch with me, but really ask questions that are being answered structurally and that other people can see. So that is the best way of doing things. And for example, you ask a lot of interesting angles on the same theme. That would be all different questions. By the way, if you're a citizen, you can also ask multiple questions. I don't care. They just need to be well structured. For example, the question, how do we get exposure to Anthropic? And of course, the simplest indirect way is Amazon. Amazon owns 20% of Anthropic. Anthropic is now already, I think Anthropic will be larger than Amazon very soon because Anthropic, something is going on there. They're just growing like crazy, and they have invented AGI, in case you didn't notice. Anthropic owns AGI. There's no doubt about it at this point. When you look at the speed they're shipping at hundreds of times the speed of a normal company. They are crushing one sector after the other. It's absolutely nuts what's going on. I, for myself, are not that greedy when it comes to jumping from stock to stock. My specialty is two things. Or maybe three things. Let's say two main things. I understand macro and I love macro. I understand Trump. I understand Germany. I understand van der Leyen. I understand Putin. I understand Iran. I understand Israel. I understand the Fed. I understand these things. Of course, all the smarty pants on X, they always criticize me. It's like, oh, Joe, you were wrong. You said taco, this and that. But money talks. I'm mostly right about these things. And when I'm wrong, I'm not that wrong on Iran, for example. On Greenland, I nailed it. So on the Fed, I completely nailed it. I predicted Trump is going to win with 312 electoral votes. That was my greatest victory ever, that I literally said on YouTube before the election, Trump is going to win this with exactly 312 electoral votes. And I made my case exactly why, by the way. And he won with 312. And I made a lot of money with Kamala Harris puts. That was funny in the prediction markets. I basically took not all my money out of Tesla, but a big chunk of money off the Tesla core position. That was the only instance where I did this, and bought Kamala Harris puts. Turns out in the end, if I had kept my Tesla shares, I would have made nearly exactly the same amount of money because Tesla went up so much. So whatever, but I won this. So number one, macro is very important. That's why I want to discuss with you guys politics, Fed, economics, culture war. All of these things are important. I know my weaknesses. I think China is always hard to understand and predict. Very hard to understand and predict. But also not that important, actually, for the things we are discussing. So macro is number one. Number two is Tesla. Why am I so Tesla obsessed? Number one, it's two independent reasons. Number one, Tesla is an amazing company that has absolute disruption going for it. The only competitor for Tesla is SpaceX in terms of how big this is and how important. And soon they will be the same anyway. And number two, I think I have a good understanding of Elon. That is one of my key advantages. I understand what Elon thinks. I think at very high resolution. It makes complete sense. Now, sometimes Elon thinks things that I didn't think of, I have to admit. But that's fine. It's not about that he thinks of things I didn't think of. That's not a problem. But when he does anything, I understand in complete resolution why he does it, and therefore can conclude what he does next. I can also predict with very high accuracy if or when he says something very similar to Trump, by the way. I know exactly what he means. I know exactly how seriously I should take it, how much face value, how much not at face value. And that gives me a dramatic advantage because most people have some form of Elon derangement syndrome, either fanboy syndrome or derangement syndrome. You need no syndrome. You need to just know what does he mean with that? How does it translate into timelines? So that is why I love Tesla, because the combination of macro understanding and Tesla gives me an edge. When it comes to other stocks, I'm extremely self-critical. So when you ask me about Meta, for example. With Meta, I can tell you Meta is undervalued. Meta will surprise to the upside. Meta has kicked out that dumb little LeCun guy who knows nothing and has now Jason Wang, who's very smart, leading AI. So Meta will guaranteed surprise to the upside on AI. But different from Tesla, I don't understand. For me, it's much harder to predict, to pinpoint these forcing functions and everything for Meta. I don't know if that happens next week or in 1 year, which is not great for trading. It's great for investing, right? If I was just a normal hedge fund manager, I would just buy Meta because you clearly will make a lot of money. I understand NVIDIA maybe a little bit higher resolution than Meta. But my master stroke is always to predict with high accuracy in a reasonable tight window. And I cannot do that with anything else than Tesla to the same precision. I think when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum and MicroStrategy, I would say these are my number two after Tesla with a large distance. So I have much lower conviction on MicroStrategy and Bitcoin, for example, than on Tesla, but higher than on the rest. For example, I think Bitcoin is incredibly bullish right now. I think Ethereum is too. But can I time it like Tesla? No. NVIDIA, I'm bullish. I hold NVIDIA. Robinhood. So I have good base understanding of these things, but this thing to translate base understanding into tight and accurate predictions of the next 4 weeks, next 8 weeks, next 2 weeks, I really have a hard time doing this with any of these guys. Now with NVIDIA, there are some tactical opportunities when NVIDIA falls too much. It's a no-brainer buy, but still not as tightly timable for me personally as Tesla. And this tight timing, as you just saw with the results of Pioneer Reserve, means I can squeeze out massive wins when it goes up, and I can squeeze out alpha even if it goes down. And that's why I like Tesla. So when you ask questions about that, you can ask general questions like this, especially as a citizen, because then you're guaranteed that I see it and respond to it, and you're automatically selected. And then I can give you tips how to ask more specific questions, right? Or you ask them right away specifically. So I hope that was insightful about this whole thing. Okay. Well, how about Elon fanboy derangement syndrome? I call it Elon fanboy syndrome, not Elon derangement syndrome. Elon derangement syndrome is when you think Elon is stupid. Elon fanboy syndrome is when you think he's Jesus. Jan LeCun is right in the long term. I'm not sure about that. Also in the long, if you're wrong in the short term, you're already kind of wrong. You're kind of useless for me. I think, no, I hate this guy for many reasons. Are there any plans for a physical pioneer land, like a place where citizens live and build together? What would be the legal form? A company, NGO, private owned village? See Stefan Corinth. You should totally ask that question. That's like a brilliant question. You should ask that question in Pioneer Lands. I can talk about it a little bit now, but you should ask it so we have a structured thing. Okay, here's my take on this Pioneer Lands physical thing. The short answer is of course. Of course, Pioneer Lands needs to be physical. But what I criticize about all these physical lands people, there's like practice and all, like whatever, practice, I forgot the name, all these things. They overrate. I think physical presence is very important for Pioneer Lands. But at the same time, people who try to do these things, they overrate or they underrate how important it is to get the software right, the civilizational software and operating system. Like, what is the value system? More important than the value system is what I call the physics. I'm working on two things that I think turn out to be pretty effective: the physics of human nature and the physics of civilization. And then a supplemental third thing, the physics of the human mind. And these define the fundamental laws of human nature, of civilization, and of the human mind. And when I'm talking about fundamental laws, I don't want to go into epistemology too much here, but that was my hobby when I was like 19. And so I have a specific take on what is knowledge. Uh, Long story short, knowledge needs a purpose. Knowledge without a purpose cannot exist. And so that's why these things don't exist yet, but we have a purpose, which is progress. So we can define these fundamental laws of human nature, and from that we can derive better what is actually happening and what needs to happen. So that's something that's I'm still working on it, but this will be a fundamental thing, and that will allow us to decipher what is even going wrong right now in the world, what would be right, and how do you define right. And the idea of these physics is we don't have to be morally right or something. We can be more like scientists. We can be more like Newton. We can say, well, the fundamental absolute physics of civilization is this. The absolute objective physics of the human nature is this. And then we don't have to morally judge anymore. We can just say the more you deviate from that as a system, the more unstable you become, and the more you need to be stabilized through external resources. Propaganda, for example. And these are not stable systems. And right now we are very far removed from the physics of civilization. We are also very far removed from the physics of human nature. And that allows us to predict in times of disruption that we will have a reset. And the reset, just a physics reset, that will move everything more towards the mean, back to the mean, to the normal state. So these are very important things to understand. And once we have a better understanding of these things, we can start engineering. We can think, okay, if that's the momentum, if these are the forces that are working on our civilizations, then we can deduct, okay, how do we have to construct this thing to be closer to nature, closer to the physics than the current system, but also in line with the rules of AGI, the AGI world. And then we have real power. Then we know how to build something that makes people much more happy, that makes people much more engaged, that has massive economic superiority to the current system. And then we are up to something. And then from there, once you have that under control, you can think about execution, which includes physical execution. That's how I think about it. In other words, we can't wing this. We need to be a little systematic. And we will. Okay, what do we have here? How can Robotaxi be autonomous when version 14.3.2 can't even get out of a parking garage? Well, I think there are many edge cases here, and they need to be resolved, and they're being resolved as we speak. So I don't think any of this is a killer problem, as Elon elaborated on. It's basically you have to look at it as how often does Robotaxi run into a problem at any given incremental version. And it's a percentage, right? Oh, 1% of rides are messed up. Okay, 2 or 5% of rides are messed up. Okay, if it's only, how messed up are they? Oh, he's locked in a car forever and is super pissed. So that's how you have to optimize it. That's pretty, I think once Tesla solved the safety problem, which they have, now it's a convenience problem. What's a convenience problem? It means out of 100 rides, 5 are messed up. The judgment would be that's too many, because then we get angry customers. Can we get it to 3 being messed up? Can we get it to 2 being messed up? And once we get it to 1 being messed up, maybe then we can scale. Something like that. Oh, street cred 0. You mean, he means the people who are deranged about Elon fanboys. Ooh, it's getting very complicated. This is a whole science at this point. Okay, there's an Elon fanboy derangement syndrome. Now I understand. You need to like study psychiatry for this to really understand all the different categories. Seasteading, I'm aware of, yeah, seasteading, exactly. But this is like, seasteading is a great example. There are also other examples. I think these people underestimate civilizational software requirements. You can't just, this is libertarian fantasies. Like, oh, just set it up, take away the laws, no taxes, everything will be, evolving. That's a big mistake. The libertarians were always completely wrong. Advanced civilizations, advanced economies need very advanced software, like operating systems. You can't just give people freedom and then it turns out to work. This is the false narrative of the United States, The United States was found by by the most sophisticated civilizational engineers of their time. Jefferson, Adams. Like, are you kidding me? Benjamin Franklin, are you kidding me? These people were hyper sophisticated engineers. They were not like, oh, just take away all the laws and let everyone shoot each other and then it's going to be fine. That is a false narrative. That's not how the United States were built. The United States were built by some of the most brilliant philosophical and civilizational engineers of all time. And there was a tremendous amount of work. Just read the Federalist Papers and all that kind of stuff, and what happened in the discussions about the Constitution, all that stuff. This was hugely complex. So you need, and that was all based on John Locke, on Montesquieu. It was based on a lot of people who put a lot of theoretic thought into the fundamentals of the state. We need to do the same. I'm working on it because we need to be a little innovative here. We need to be fundamental. Okay, Dennis Polak asked, are you busy setting up AI to use your method of investing? I'm busy setting up AI. Yeah, indirectly. I'm recruiting a team. We are building out AI systems to actually have better financial models, predictive models, and predict the future and pinpoint the future. That's what we're working on. So not the actual trades. That's easy. I can do that. What's hard is to be right about the future and to expand beyond Tesla, especially into space, but also into robots. Andrea Auer. Shit, I'm late. Yes, you are. But this will be available once we stop. It will be available on YouTube. You have to go to my channel and then click on live, and then there are all the live recordings. What do you think about Micron and SanDisk as investments, given first principles as memory is the biggest bottleneck for data center development? So Micron was on my agenda, not SanDisk, but Micron was on my agenda a long time. I did not invest because I have a hard time with Micron doing valuation. Not because there's anything wrong with Micron, but there's more something wrong with me. I don't have the time. When I do investments, I want to be absolutely sure about everything. And with Micron, I just don't feel confident in it. It was very clear to me that Micron is perfectly positioned and will have infinite demand and everything. So that was very clear. The thing I'm not clear on is the exact financial and valuation analysis of Micron. And now I would be even more cautious because it ran up insanely, right? So the question is not if they are in a perfect position. Obviously they are. But the devil is always in the details. You know, what exactly is going on? What about the competition? Most importantly about Micron, what about the valuation at this point? Black Mamba Trader, PE of MU and SanDisk still amazingly low. It could be. I don't feel comfortable saying too much about it because I'm not deeply in this stuff. Yeah, I can't say too much. That's why I'm building our investment team. I need more people because I need a tight model. We're building it on SpaceX right now, on space compute, on launch, on COGS, on Starship production, on all these things that needs to be modeled out. So here's the thing. If I can give you one advice from my experience at the front lines of trading and investing, the world always is full of amazing opportunities. Clearly, SanDisk and Micron are in that opportunity space. They're very much at the center of the opportunity space. They're probably amazing. But what I learned is you have to know where you're an expert, and you have to make sure, if you really want to win, to stick to what you know. If you want to expand your horizons, which I want to, right? I have a bigger investment theme, and Micron is definitely part of that. SanDisk wasn't yet, but sure. Intel, AMD, the whole thing. I'm curious about them. I know the basics. but I cannot make any investments before I don't fully, tightly understand valuation, discounted cash flows, growth projections, competitive situation, COGS, and the whole thing. And for Micron, I know all the basics about it, but I don't know the details of it, which are easily knowable if you have time. So my main advice is I don't need many stocks. I rather have I have complete knowledge of Tesla. I don't think there are many people who know more about Tesla than I do, and I'm pretty sure no one can predict the stock better than I can. And as I said, even if I look at my number two, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I have a much lower conviction in that. I have some conviction, but I know what I don't know. I cannot completely guarantee where Bitcoin is in 1 month. And I also cannot triangulate the exact risk scenarios as tightly as Tesla. I want to get to the same level of predictive power for SpaceX very quickly. That's my top priority. I know I don't even have to try for Bitcoin, Ethereum, because you can't. This is just not possible. You can just directionally be right. Then the question is, where do we put, like, you have to understand, like, this is not random when I do Pioneer Alpha. These are infrastructures you build. You need to build the models, you need to build deep understanding, and I'm stretched at this point. I can do Tesla. I can't even do SpaceX myself. So now I need to have more people, which we will have. We're building up right now. The next target is SpaceX. And as I told you guys, if Micron goes up another 400% and Nvidia only goes up 100%, I can still make more money with Nvidia than with 400% if I'm tighter in my predictions. So I rather go deep on individual stocks where I know they're hot. After SpaceX and Tesla, Nvidia is on my agenda, and then the semiconductor space. So with Nvidia comes AMD and Intel, maybe Broadcom. That's the next piece. How much we can go into RAM and storage, we have to see. I would love to, because I think Micron is just super hot, but Micron ran up a lot. So that's how I think about this. This is like a lot of work, dozens and dozens of hours of work if you're very AI empowered per stock to really dig in and understand this stuff. And once we have the insights, I will definitely share it with you. Because I don't know, I don't need that many stocks. I'm totally outperforming everything with Tesla and a small bunch of other stocks. Here, same thing. Joe, have you considered entering a position in BMNR? Well, my problem with BMNR, Bitmine Technologies, which is basically a treasury company, very similar to MicroStrategy, but for Ethereum, led by Tom Lee. My issue with them is, number one, I can trade Ethereum directly, and number two, they are less transparent, less clear to me, much less clear than MicroStrategy, and that's their fault. So as a treasury company, you should be extremely transparent and should have a website like MicroStrategy. How hard can it be? Just do in real time all these metrics, and I would be much more happy. And right now I'm not happy with them. So I don't have any BNMR positions, and I don't plan to have them because they lack transparency. Look at this. This is how they should do it. Strategy looks perfect. That's how a good treasury company should look like. They disclose their price, which is very high. I bought this thing at 119 not too long ago. Bitcoin per share, MNAV, where is it here? They have MNAV now at 128. I bought it at 108, I think. So MNAV is like how much more the stock is worth than the actual treasury assets, like the actual Bitcoin they own. Enterprise value is here, market cap is here, Bitcoin reserve is here. So basically enterprise value, market cap, Bitcoin reserve, you see you have all that stuff, and then you have the different preferreds. So that's what BMNR is missing. You know, Bitmine Technologies, if you go to their website, it's totally crap. I don't know what they're doing. Look at this. This is the comparison. Like, what is this vibe coded or what? Like, where's even, like, what is this? This is like completely ridiculous. There is no information. Investor relations, company information. What is this? This is horrible. See, this is like, why don't they have like a dude who does their website? How can you, you know, like, it should look like this. How hard can it be? So transparency is very important. Uh, so many questions. Corridor price target type seems pretty good, accurate. Well, I think Olojo was very wrong on his little chart where he compared, Tesla movements of the previous years. That was clearly the wrong implied move. Any thoughts on Bitcoin? Yeah, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin right now. That's the reason I'm coming back to Tesla, says why Johu. There are so many branches of technology, it's hard to invest anywhere else. I agree. Your volume is low for me. Is it low for anyone else? Listening to Tesla earnings call live is like the Super Bowl. Exactly. Tesla stock is like buying an excellent mutual fund with all the technology that are doing and will do. Yeah, but it will outperform all mutual funds, in my opinion. What do you think about the signature delivery Model SX sunset event getting postponed? Do you think they are preparing for a Roadster or Cyber SUV reveal on that day? Rumor has it VIPs will be there. I have no idea. I didn't look into that. I'm not following these little cars too much. But yeah, probably they want to merge some events into that. I would not exclude that. I would be prepared for surprises. What's going on with the voice volume? Voice volume. Voice volume. It's always 30% lower. Output volume is maximum. Maybe it's a different problem. I don't know. General. I don't see any settings for this. That's weird. Well, this is the indirectly streamed through Riverside, but that's also how I normally record it. No volume problem here. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? You never know. Okay. I think we got through a lot of things today. Maybe we conclude with a last look at the Robotaxi tracker, but nothing new. 39. Now we are stagnating a little bit. Let's see when the next push comes. The devil is in the room. 666. Whatever that means. And yeah, I hope that was interesting. Let's take a last look at the Pioneer Reserve, completely outperforming everyone. I'm very proud of this. This was an interesting year. As you all know, you are following it in real time. I trade this pretty institutionally now, or not pretty, like very institutionally now. So when I see people on X just posting their little results, you need to be systematic. This is all auditable. This is all true. And it's also just showing everyone the actual performance. You can't just say, oh, I made like 60% in the last month. Like, okay, what did you do the previous 2 years? So since I started trading Pioneer Alpha as a systematic strategy, January 1st, 2024, which is already nearly 2.5 years, we have been winning. And the most important thing is I'm constantly improving the system. So now that we are moving into full institutional setup with the Pioneer bonds, since last year, probably July, when I really started stress testing that, I also improved the method, in my opinion, with more risk controls. So the drawdowns are much less because we had pretty severe drawdowns in 2025 in the first half of the year. And I didn't like that too much. So I think I'm very proud of my Q1 this year. Because last year I made pretty much a similar prediction that Q1 is going to be bad, but my execution was lagging. So I said it's going to be bad. I literally said it in December too. In December 2024 after the election, I said, probably going to be tough Q1. I was totally right, but I didn't execute right. So I suffered a major drawdown, more than Tesla. And then, of course, I did the alpha roll strategy to totally catch up and made it all back and much, much more, which sounds good, but I did not like the volatility. That was bad. And so this year, I'm very proud of myself that I actually avoided that. I was down. The worst point we were down, I think 15% when Tesla was down 26% or something. So that was the worst, but then we absolutely turned it around. So very important. Consistency and avoid major drawdowns. So that is true alpha. True alpha means you're not just beating Tesla on the way up, you're also dramatically beating it on the way down by going much less down than the stock. If you can go much less down than the stock, then you benchmark, and go much more up on the way up, then you have the double alpha effect. That's the difference between beta and alpha. Beta means Tesla goes down 10, you go down 20. Tesla goes up 10, you go up 20. Alpha means Tesla goes down 26, I go down 15. Tesla goes up 20, I go up 40. That is called alpha. That is what no one can do. Only us. So let's conclude this for today. Volume is fine. Can you test if you open other YouTube video? Sound is not a lot higher. Maybe Tesla Larry can predict good too. He has also SpaceX deep knowledge, but you are somewhere up there. I mean, there are definitely other people who can also make good predictions. But as I said, predictions are not the only thing. You need to predict and be right. But then you need to execute the trades so you can capitalize on being right, which are two different things. Only if you do all of the above can you really outperform. How do you think Optimus V3 will be revealed? Video on X or an event? This will be, I think, oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be an event. We will see. Do you have a longer term MicroStrategy target? Do you foresee breaching all-time highs this year? Well, I think MicroStrategy is just, I don't have a MicroStrategy target. I only look at Bitcoin. And MicroStrategy is just a tool for me in the portfolio, because I can't right now buy crypto in the Pioneer Alpha portfolio. So all my crypto holdings are outside the Pioneer Alpha portfolio, are not being counted here. And I'm not optimizing them for these kinds of returns. This is very long term. So MicroStrategy is my way of getting exposure to that inside Pioneer Alpha. So on Bitcoin, I think we should go back to all-time highs very soon. That's what I think. Or this year. There's just too much bullish stuff happening. Very good. Thank you so much, guys. Take a last look at my new light bulb that's not on, by the way. Very happy with the light bulb. This will look amazing once it's on. It's an Edison bulb. We will also change the background very soon. And that will be amazing. So thank you everyone for joining, and see you very soon. Ask your questions in pioneerlens.org on the Pioneer Academy. That's how you can get everything answered. Thank you so much. See you very soon.